here on Scrap Station between GT Cheticus and Hay. So thanks, guys, for joining me. This is the Cats Pajamas and Destiny. We're bringing you guys the SC Reddit Open semifinals. Apparently, this is a best of 3 as well. So best of 3 match here, guys. Check out the organizers of the tournament at starcraft.reddit.com or screddit.com. And a big shout out and thanks to our sponsors at zenmagnets.com and newgamesninja.com. So here at the 3 o'clock position on Scrap Station, we have Hey, or Hi, or Hey, or everyone just kind of makes it up. Hey is our orange Terran player. At the 12 o'clock position, we have GT Cheticus, who is our pink Zerg player. So this is a map that many consider to be overwhelmingly Zerg favorite. I know Zerg players like this because of the easy-to-take natural, but what is your preferred mode of combating a drop-heavy play or a drop-heavy Terran on this map?
I mean, overlords across this chasm definitely help when you scout it. Personally, I think, I don't know, drop play can be pretty easily shut down as long as you have the overlords out there. Sometimes a Terran will make a Viking first to pick the overlords off, but it's pretty obvious that drop play is coming after that if they elect to go that route.
And it appears as though Hay is dropping down a barracks in the front of his ramp right now. Going to be pretty aggressive with his barracks play, it appears. Those are a little bit more undefended, but of course he may just decide to be rushing here. He is queuing up another SCV. He's actually, look, if you take a look at the rally point of his SCVs, they're already queued up into his opponent's base. So unless that's just going to be the one that's going to be for scouting purposes, but he did one out before. He may decide to be rushing. He is bypassing gas entirely. We'll see what he decides to go for, as this barracks is about 75% complete.
This might be, this barracks might actually be out here for defensive purposes. This could be a one-racks expo play. I would be pretty surprised unless this SCV traveling out throws down a proxy ratch, although it would be late now, just because the rush distance is so outrageously long on this map.
Yeah, and indeed, he is saving up a good number of minerals at this point. He would have thrown down a second. Yeah, indeed, if you take a look at the supply depot here, he is going ahead and walling off that choke point entirely, trying to give himself a nice, easy-to-defend natural as well. So we do have an orbital command morphing in. This fast expand for Cheticus has been spotted. Overlord's going to be able to get in here, but it is being driven off by that Marine. So Cheticus now putting down his spawning pool and his extractor at the moment, and attempting to chase that SCV out of the base as quickly as possible.
So this is pretty much the kind of play that I would have liked to have seen from the last Terran on Cheticus, where this Terran player knows that on this map Zerg is more likely to play more greedy, and instead of wasting all that money on any kind of early aggression, he just goes straight for the expansion, and he's going to start to build his economy very, very, very early so that he can combat the high economy of the Zerg and not let the Zerg get past him in tech and eco for the entire game.
Well, especially as on Cheticus Plateau, you do have that super easy to defend natural as well. I mean, the ramp is only about as wide as the one here on Scrap Station. In fact, I think it may be just a tiny bit smaller, but it is basically the same size. It's really easy to defend. A lot of people will know Rax Fast Expand, will know Gate Fast Expand on that ramp. I'm sorry, on that map, just because of how easy it is to take anyway. So Cheticus is sending his drones down to his natural expansion, bringing some Zerglings up to go ahead and take out this scout there for Hay. Hey, running around the base, but he is going to be surrounded by Zerglings. There it goes. And there goes the SCV. So Cheticus did just finish his Queen back on the Terran side of things. The expansion is now about 80% of the way complete. We do only have one barracks up to this point. Double gas now for Hay, though, so I think he's going to aggressively switch in tech here.
Yeah, it's possible we could see some kind of early drop play, maybe. Both of those gases went up pretty much at the same time. He's definitely getting a lot of gas for something.
So Hay is finished with his orbital command. He has plenty enough money to turn into an, I'm sorry, he's finished with his command center. And the Zerglings are moving up at this point, getting a nice round on the barracks, but they are going to be driven off by this contingent of Marines. Marines runs up. A few SCVs are now transferring down to the natural expansion for Hay as well. Back on Cheticus' side, we do have Zergling speed being researched, and I think that Cheticus is going to try and take down these destructible debris as quickly as possible, but there are a couple of Marines that are coming over to prevent just that.
I could be wrong, but I think you can get 2 or 3 Lings attacking those destructible rocks right on the northern side, and the Marines wouldn't actually be able to reach them. I'm not entirely sure on that. But I know definitely right now where the Marines are positioned, the Zerg could still be working on those rocks. If you can open up the rocks on this map, the potential to harass a Terran base it becomes so much more open.
Yeah, because Hay would have to put down some static defenses there at the very least, and that would cost him a lot of minerals to begin with. But Zergling's running in one more time, and he is going to go ahead and take a couple of shots onto the supply depot, but the Marines, again, are there to drive his opponent off. Tech Lab finishing on the factory, and we immediately have Blue Flame Hellions being put up. So Blue Flame Hellions on the way. There is another factory, actually, no starport on the way, so this isn't going to be a drop. It just seems like this is going to be a very, very strong timing attack.
Yeah, that's possible. A lot of people say that this map could be strong for Zerg, but if the Terran breaks open those middle rocks and comes down the middle, it can be very, very, very difficult to stop a very patient, well-paced Terran who's kind of making his way down that middle ramp, or the middle rock way.
Yeah, the units that are up right now for Hay, it's going to take an absolute eternity to knock down those destructible rocks. But of course, if he gathers up his forces for long enough, and clearly he's planning to bring out a good number of forces for a long time. Oh, Hay actually coming to intercept that Overseer. The Overseer is probably going to fall here, and unfortunate for the Overseer, it is going to go down. Changeling falls as well. So Overseer gets knocked out. That does not supply block Cheticus at all. And we do have another very, very fast infestation pit coming up. So Roach Warren actually being produced at the same time as the infestation pit. So looks like he's going to gear up for another big push here with infestors.
Yeah, it looks like I see the Terran hasn't even bothered grabbing the gases at his expansion yet. It looks like he is going for a very strong kind of a Blue Flame Hellion, maybe even Marine push here.
Let's see. Hay has not been putting up anything else for a while. Okay, actually, he does have a... Oh, Caster doing a little bit of lagging. But we do take a look here, and we do see that there is an armory, an engineering bay, another factory, and a starport on the way. So we may have some drops that are integrated into this. Excuse me. But for a while, this is just going to be a very, very strong Blue Flame Hellion push here in a bit. We do have Siege Mode actually researching at this time. So he is going to eventually convert over to siege tanks, and once again, a little bit of lag.
I think that the looking at the Zerg's base right now, he has that spore colony up. I don't know if he was scared of early Banshees or something, but he has it. I think it's strange. He's got the spore colony up in the mineral field. That's going to hurt his ability to defend these Blue Flame Hellions, just because all I see the Zerg having are just a few links at this point. It looks like the Terran's moving out with about 6 Hellions right there.
Yeah, they are already down at the southern Zelnaga Tower, so here's the match back started. And the Hellions are going to move their way out right now. What exactly is waiting for them? We do have a bunch of Zerglings up, a couple of Roaches onto the field of play as well. There's the Blue Flame Hellions, though. And they are going to be immediately repelled by the Roaches. Speedlings aren't done, of course. They're trying to get us around here on the Hellions, but the Hellions are actually doing a nice job of killing all of those Zerglings. And I think that all of the Hellions are going to make it away scot-free.
Yeah, it's not, I didn't even notice that. It's nice that the Zerg got those Roaches out to defend there. That could have been a really, really bad spot for the Zerg.
Yeah, Cheticus is now responding by putting up some upgrades for his Roaches. He does have Roach Speed on the way in addition to Ground Carapace level 1. So we are going to have some very, very upgraded Roaches. And he is producing a couple of Infestors, or just one Infestor right now. Stim Pack on the way in addition to Siege Tech here for Hay. He is converting over to a heavy Siege Tank production. 3 Tech Lab factories at this time, along with another Command Center being built there on the high ground next to his Natural. So Hay does have up his armory for the time being. He has now just started +1 weapons for his ground forces. I don't believe armor is finished. No, so this will actually be the first upgrade for any of his ground forces. He'll be at a little bit of a disadvantage upgrade-wise to his opponent, a GT Cheticus. Cheticus now has 4 Infestors popping at about the same time.
This is pretty strange. I don't know if Hay has ever played this Zerg before, but doing this really kind of heavy mech build is really going to hurt Hay's I guess this Infestor play that he has in mind. This Infestor play is very, very, very effective when your opponent is heavy on Marines, but not so much when your opponent is focused more on mech.
Yeah, he does have Neural Parasite out again to go ahead and take over a few of those mech units. That will certainly be helpful, but this is going to be a pretty overwhelming force of Siege Tanks that comes out here pretty soon. Unfortunately, Hay is supply blocked quite badly. As a matter of fact, he's only now putting up his supply depot. He's about ready to finish his command center, though, which will give him a little bit of supply. There we go. Hay did call down some supplies as well. Army tab shows us Hay has... Well, actually, both players are about even in terms of the amount of resources in their army. This Overlord trying to run for his life down to 40 health, and he does get away. But here it looks like that some Roaches are going to move out and try and intercept all of those Marines. Unfortunately, the Marines are going to fall. So, Roaches taking over there. We do have some more Infestors coming out right now in addition to an expansion for Cheticus. Cheticus expanding next to that Zelnaga Tower. He does have pretty good map control once again. One Viking is out, however, to take down these Overlords, doing some damage to the Overlords that are sitting over the northern expansion, over the island. A couple of those are going to fall pretty quickly.
It's really nice to get that one Viking out of the Zerg, especially how Cheticus likes to get so much vision with these Overlords. You can really do a lot of damage to Zerg by just sniping those Overlords with a single Viking. Very, very cost effective. Conversely, though, it's really nice that Cheticus grabs speed on those Overlords, too, so that if any kind of play like this were to come out, he can kind of sneak them away so that he doesn't have to lose every single Overlord he's got out scouting.
Hay is going ahead and moving up one more time with that Viking to sit over the island. Unfortunately, Cheticus will lose another Overlord. If this Overlord actually retreats to the top right, he's going to reveal the positions of a couple more Overlords, so hopefully Cheticus will turn around. Right now, Hay is putting up a very defensive position at his next expansion. That command center is about to land. He is floating a lot of minerals at this point, 1,300 minerals. Right now, I'd like to see him just drop down a couple of proactive supply depots and unit-producing structures. Hay just sitting there outside his base, and we have a little bit of a standoff while Hay is actually attacking many of these Overlords. And once again, Cheticus is quite supply blocked.
I'm really scared for the Zerg at this point. This army just seems so anti-Roach Infestor. He's maybe if he splits his Roaches up really, really well, pulls a Zerg Foxer and gets some really nice neural parasites off. Otherwise, I'm really worried. I hope he doesn't try to attack into this position. I think that the Terran is going to be, I see him unsieging these tanks, going to be slowly pressing up here to pressure that the Zerg third base up there too.
And I think he's going to do a pretty effective job of that. Now, the one thing that the Infestors have going for them is that they do have Neural Parasite. He can grab a couple of those tanks. It will really be terribly effective against the mass unit of forces that is coming, but it could temporarily delay Hay, at least long enough for Cheticus to be able to get up some more units. Vikings now coming out doing some more damage to the Overlords. This has got to be so annoying for Cheticus, as he does lose yet another Overlord. Close to being supply blocked again, but he is doing a nice job of map control. But of course, that map control is going to go away as these Vikings keep flying across the map.
Take a look at the units lost tab. Hay is being very, 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 very effective with these Vikings. Definitely cost effective.
I'm surprised with the close air positions that we didn't have any sort of Mutalisk play whatsoever, as even a few Mutalisk play could have caused Hay to completely switch his tech to something that would have been a little bit less effective against this build. Oh, Cheticus loses another Overlord. He is supply blocked one more time. So Vikings are making their way up. They do see the huge force of Cheticus just sitting at the expansion, though.
This is a scenario... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This is a scenario here where I would really almost just like to see the Zerg cut through the middle. I think the Zerg is planning on trying to take out all these tanks, and he's going to rely on fungal growths. I'm sorry, not fungal growths, but neural parasites to control these tanks.
And the tanks are coming in. Oh, here come the Roaches. The tanks are doing a ton of damage, though. A couple of neural parasites going down, but those infestors are being target fired pretty quickly. But the Roach is actually standing in here and doing a lot more damage than I would have expected. And the Zerg is actually finding a way to come out on top of this little engagement. There are a couple of siege tanks that are still firing, but Cheticus is actually in a pretty good position, taking down both of the bunkers. The bunker is being repaired at the moment. A bunch of infested Terrans going down to absorb some of the shots from the planetary fortress. And Infestors really just kind of sacrificing themselves. He is trying to attack directly into this planetary fortress. A lot of damage being done. Planetary fortress down to less than half of its health. Is he going to be able to get it? I think he is. 300 health, 200, 100, and there it goes. Planetary fortress down. A lot of damage being done to Hay as well in terms of economy, losing a lot of units there. And Cheticus directly attacked into that and found a way to win.
I'm converted. I'm probably going to be laddering, learning this build tonight. I never would have guessed that all those infestors and the Roaches. I mean, the Roaches were doing a decent job tanking the shots from the siege tanks, and the neural parasites were just there. That army, that was a pretty convincing win right there. I mean, in terms of that army and knocking out the planetary fortress with all of the extra infested Terrans, I'm really impressed with the Zerg play. That was really nice.
I mean, he was down in food. I mean, he still is down in food overall right now. He was down in food. He was down in army size. He was down in upgrades. And then he just turned around and just massacred that force. So Refinery about ready to fall down here as well. Roach is being brought out to go ahead and continue to deny this next expansion that Hay wants to put down. Hay did snipe a couple of Vikings right there, but I think that this command center is going to have to float away, find somewhere else to go. Hay is still up by about 13 workers right now. I'd like to see Cheticus go ahead and bring up a few more workers at this point.
If this Terran were to move right now, he has a very small window right here where none of these infestors have energy for neural parasite. He could do a lot of damage to the Zerg right now. I see the Zerg is losing a ton of infestors right now, which is painful as a Zerg player to throw away all that gas. But I think without neural parasite, the whole ability of this army to fight siege tanks is really, really heavily diminished.
Yeah, I think 5 of those infestors did just go down. There are a few left, but again, they don't have a lot of energy. They used whatever energy they could on the infested Terrans there, but the infested Terrans were basically just fodder to those tanks. So, hey, grabbing another good bit of units. He is looking out for some harassment, it appears, moving up with another contingent of siege tanks, transferring some SCVs over to his next expansion, and then, of course, dropping down a ton of mules, 7 as a matter of fact. So his income still will look pretty good, and it appears as though these Vikings are still continuing to run across the map, trying to pick off whatever overlords they can find. So hey, actually with a nice little bit to nice little attack to reestablish his position, morphing into planetary fortress right now, and he already has turned a profit on that position. So we'll see what he's able to do from here. But Cheticus is actually expanding down to the gold as well.
He has got 3 Vikings in the Zerg base. He's starting to pick off a couple of drones up there. Zerg doesn't really have anything right now. He's kind of losing some. Hayes done a really good job this game of just being really, really annoying and really effective with just those 3 Vikings. I think there's 10 kills just between the 3 of them at least. Maybe even, or it looks like 16 kills now after those drones.
Yeah, and the rest of these overlords are going to fall down here pretty quickly. Those Vikings landed and did a great amount of damage. Overlords are all going to fall here. Cheticus is not bringing up any other ones right now, and he is going to be supply blocked yet again. But we do see an Ultralisk Cavern on the way now for Cheticus, so he is going to try and tech up at this time. But those Vikings, he's really had no response to them the entire time. I figured he'd be hanging his overlords closer to his base now. I mean, I understand wanting to take the map control, don't get me wrong, but he's losing them every time he sends them out. So Hay is going ahead and dropping in his siege tanks, forcing those infestors back for the time being. That is a lot of infestors, 10 infestors as a matter of fact. And we will see a nice slow push here out of these siege tanks directly into the base of Cheticus.
Wow, and I think like 6 more infestors just walked in.
Oh my god, 18 or 16 infestors, what?
This is a crazy micro-intensive build.
Yeah, they all do have a lot of energy, so I mean, he could, theoretically, if he could pull this off quick enough, he could take over every one of those siege tanks for a while and cause them to fire upon themselves. But Hay is looking pretty strong at this point. He is up in workers, if only slightly. He is continuing to upgrade and producing 4 siege tanks at a time, so this is going to be as dedicated a mech build as you can possibly get. And the nice slow push coming in, a couple more of those siege tanks slowly moving themselves to the front, and very soon, this hatchery is going to be in range. Command center floating down to the bottom expansion to the gold. But that's not really going to do anything, as there is already an expansion there. And, oh, Cheticus had a few of his units brought out there, but they quickly were targeted by those siege tanks.
I think this engagement is going to be a little bit harder for the Zerg. He's got a lot of siege tanks there. The Zerg's going to need a pretty heavy force of roaches in order to tank shots long enough for those infestors to get some successful neuroparasites off.
Yeah, and it looks like he's just completely giving up that position, not even worrying about it, just heading down here to try and take over the attack that's attempting to deny the gold. One Ultralisk is out right now, and a couple of fungal growths go down in addition to neural parasites. So Cheticus is going to be able to clean up that attack, but at the cost of losing his base. So he is going to move up one more time, and by he, I mean Hay. Hay is moving in, trying to take out these infestors. A couple of neural parasites go in, a couple of fungal growths go down, and those siege tanks are not really doing a ton of damage right now. All of the infested Terrans are just kind of landing in here, and Hay is once again losing a good bit of forces, but he is able to focus fire down a lot of those infestors. Some speedlings are being brought in as well. Speedlings surrounding all of the siege tanks. But Hay did find a way to successfully stay up through that attack, and he is continuing to reproduce his army at a very good clip at this point. So Cheticus does take out the last siege tank there, but we have another attempt at a re-attack down here at the gold expansion, as this hatchery is down to about half its health. Units back up slightly from that Ultralisk that just pulled up.
Nice macro from Hay. Just another army right after one's down. Another army just streaming from his base, applying constant pressure. These infestors, as I said before, their value just diminishes every time after a fight because they have no energy for neural parasite. And Hay realizes that if he just continues to apply pressure on the Zerg, eventually those infestors are just going to be basically just a gas tank that aren't performing at all for him.
Yeah, that was about 400 energy worth of infested Terrans that were just thrown on the high ground there to try and combat those siege tanks, and the siege tanks just absolutely ripped through them. Those infested Terrans might as well not have been there. Hay does lose his next expansion down here at the gold. He's trying to reestablish one previously where it was taken out, but a scan goes down. It does see that there is another base in place. Let's take a look here. The Vikings now have a ton of kills, between them 20 kills as a matter of fact. Cheticus is not being able to get a lot of harassment of his own, and I think that Hay is just going to push back in and try and go for the kill here.
You see the Zerg has finally started to get a little bit of Mutalisk here, but I think the expression "too little, too late" might be appropriate here.
Yeah, indeed.
He's invested
there's
so
just,
much
there's just
gas
nothing
in
in play
infestor
for him.
play.
These infestors are all so low on energy. They're just at this point. The infestors are now trying to back up, but Hay is already bringing in some units from around the Zelnaga Tower as well. And Cheticus is going to have his units quickly cleaned up. Though actually these tanks weren't sieged up, so there's the possibility this will get cleaned up. Indeed it is. But Hay is already set up with another defensible position. This planetary fortress is sniping quite a few of those infested Terrans. But the infested Terrans are going to get up and do quite a bit of damage to those siege tanks. But Hay once again denies Cheticus' base. And he does GG. Well played! So Cheticus does take game one of this best of